All right. Yeah, bruh. Cadabra. Welcome to New Orleans Poetry Fest 2025. Our 10th annual poetry festival for poets who give a fuck about poetry. We have a beautiful night for you tonight of local New Orleans poets. We got 7 poets. We are gonna cruise through it in an orderly fashion and a disorderly fashion, and maybe a little bit tipsy fashion too. So I'm gonna tell you all the order because we're not gonna do bios. There's these beautiful pamphlets at the front door. You can check them out. You can read people's bios and stuff there. There are books for sale, Blue Cypress Books. Raina Nielsen has graciously come set up in one of the booths. You can buy almost all these poets' books tonight, right over there. I'm sure there's some type of Poetry Fest discount that'll be amazing. She takes cash, credit card, blood, shoes, anything you got to trade. She'll take it all. She'll take it all. All right, so we're gonna start with 4 poets. We're gonna take a little break, get some drinks, and then we're gonna come back for 3 more poets, and then we're gonna fucking party. The first 4 poets are up. The first one will be Marian Moore. The second one will be Ariel Francisco. The third one, Rachel Zavecz. And closing out the first part of the set will be Benjamin Morris. So please welcome to the New Orleans Poetry Fest Locals Night stage, Marian Moore.
I started writing poems for Poetry Month based on a website, and the prompts did not work for me. They were these frilly, frothy type of things, and I'm not a frilly, frothy person. So I found, at the same time, I found this website called Freedom on the Move, and it is run by Cornell. They have been taking the ads that were run in the paper by enslavers for their property that had run away. And so I wrote poems for their property. In some cases I'll read the ad, in some cases I'll just read the poem. So the first one, $10 reward was to be paid to any person who would bring to number 27 Chapatula Street a Negro girl about 13 years of age, wears a blue cottonelle dress. Her name is Martha. I shucked that dress, found 2 ears of corn clinging to a gunny sack on the docks, enough to stop my gullet's teeth from chewing through my rough skin, the bag an easy fit. Last night rolled myself in dog shit, enough to make the pretty noses and the sharp eyes above them turn away from my burlap slip. Replace cottonelle, that wealth of cotton, of Louisiana cotton, with a warp of Tennessee jute, printed in indigo, the color staining my thin thighs purple, with the blood of my kin red, embracing the work of their hands blue. So I don't want you to think that every person who escaped was necessarily a nice person. The horse and his chariot driven into the sea. Silver flowers chase along the edge of the crystal stems of my pharaoh's goblets. The same flowers encircle the bodice of the new wife's dress. White flowers against pale blue linen, against the creamy complexion prized by her Boston kin. I was 16 then. I am 40 now, and I, Amigo, whisper into my younger ear, crocus, a symbol of spring, not as useful as the autumn flowers, not as potent as homemade plum wine. When the table exclaims, this year we are slaves, next year we will be free, she gazes up at me, at him, a slight dark figure in a suit worn by 2 dead boys before him. Did Moses shudder when he saw his Egyptian brothers enter the sea in their chariots? Or was he as steady as I, pouring poison wine dark as enveloping water. This is for Ned. Ned was in the borough of Freeport in the parish jail of Jefferson. Ned set fire to the jail. Freeport is aflame. Rivulets of blue run from the jailhouse to the general store where my hands were bound for being so black that my color swallowed all of their fears. Streams of red run from the sugar cane to the brickyards, from the docks to the steamboats, thus limiting my escape, because freedom is aflame with no respect for fairness. Cato. On January 19th, the pecan trees were arthritic brown fingers that pointed in every direction away, even the ones that led nowhere but open water. The sky was shackled gray, so dark that when Cato raised his wrist, the chain that linked his right to left could not be seen, and so released, he slipped into the misty land between bound and free. This is for John Bull, who was supposed to be loitering around the old basin or lake end of the railroad. At lake where fat shrimp boats waddle up to a gray dock, in the midst of a muggy morning, where the hands of men who labor are slick with the red ichor of fish entrails, hearts, and livers, where the belts hang low with the blunt blades that open oysters and the sharp shanks that open the necks of incautious queries, where fish scales and shrimp shells cover pock scars, making all who labor as silver as mermen that disappear in the midst of a summer eve. Emily. In antebellum New Orleans, John Henderson advertised in the Daily Picayune for the return of a presumed runaway, a 7-year-old enslaved girl. You are frozen there, Emily. 1 foot on the muddy gate to the American city, 1 foot raised over brick laced into concrete between buildings higher than you ever seen. On foggy March mornings, women wearing starched cotton dresses stride by you into work you would recognize. If I keep you poised there, I don't have to imagine what happened. The cotton dealer who misplaced his child's favorite playmate, the brothel owner that thought you a charming whimsy for his parlor, the errand that crushed you beneath a carriage's wheels, the race along the levee that ended with a tumble into the river. You can see that I am kin. I can think of so many horrors. Therefore, a gift. I'll imagine one more possibility. The man that recognized you, hid you beneath his cloak, and took you to live among the maroons in the swamp across the river. Stay there, Emily. A moment longer. I only live 10 miles and 200 years away. Your father is coming for you. Okay, this one is for Fanny, who spoke both English and French. She took her daughter with her about age 7. She was thought to be last seen around St. Mary Market. Fanny seeks St. Mary. Why did I search for you? I paused at a snaggletooth lot on Rampart. The house you fled is gone. Under a new moon, your child on your shoulder, you are seeking St. Mary, who fled Bethlehem with her own mulatto child, half human, half God. I've seen the modern checkpoints and lines to enter the city of bread. You are asking the best way to leave, what to bribe, when to hide, and if Joseph exists yet in your life, who he should engage in banter while you inch your way forward towards an Egypt that represents freedom, not slavery and death. I will end with one more. This is for Betsy. Betsy was missing 2 fingers on her right hand. Epigenetics. Where do I find you? You who were missing on July 9th, July 11th, and July 15th, worth $20 in reward to the finder. You did not go far. You were my father's sister advancing at Howard because LSU refused to award her a master of anything. You were my father returning from the bank he birthed with welts on his back, the striations of stress mimicking an overseer's lash. I see you in the mirror, every missing finger of trauma matched by the hard-won triumph of escape.
Oh man, it's very dark from here. Am I speaking into the microphone? Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming out. I'm gonna read a few poems for y'all. If you've heard these before, just pretend you haven't. First one is called Young Lizard Kings. Under the Florida sun's stern gaze, parents too busy fighting to watch us in the yard, my brother and I hunt for lizards in the loquat trees, brimming with many suns, chase them skittering across the porch or through the tall grass. If you pinch their tail, it snaps off and they shoot into the foliage like a bottle rocket. You have to grab them by the middle with thumb and forefinger like a cigarette, their little mouths open in rage or fear, baring tiny harmless teeth at us. We raise them as though offering them to the sun before offering them our earlobes and lower lip, letting them clamp down in rage or fear, and wear them as living jewelry, breathing green gems clinging to our skulls. We roam the neighborhood like this, little deformed Maya deities, young lizard kings, our providence adorning our faces, seeking to remake this world. This is called My Dad Applies for Citizenship and is Accused of Being a Communist, 1997. 20 years after arrival, the burden of betraying his homeland finally gone, or at least dulled down to a manageable pain tucked deep. But the government has questions. Why is he a member of Casa de las Americas, New York, supporters of the Cuban Revolution? Why does he get newspapers from Cuba and the Sandinistas in Nicaragua and the US's own Socialist Party? They ask what he talks about on his radio show. If they searched his home, the framed photo of Che in the foyer hanging like a holy relic would answer all their questions. But my dad just shrugs and says he's a writer and a journalist and likes to read, shows them his framed associate's degree from Hostos Community College, smudging the glass when he points to the word journalism, hoping he's masked his patronizing tone as pride. He says, I've received such a great education in this country. He says, I've learned so much about the US you wouldn't believe. Sorry for reading from my phone like a millennial scum, but that's what I am. This next one, so I write about my parents a lot. They're very curious people. My mom, she's one of those people that always has the TV on when she's doing anything, and one of the channels she has on is the History Channel, which if you've seen it in like the last decade, it has nothing to do with history. So Ancient Aliens is always on the TV. And my mom is from Guatemala, where they have the mythology of the Mayas being like quote unquote star people, which she believes. And my dad, he's a character. When I was a kid, I loved outer space, and my dad thought this was strange, so he did his dad research, and he's like, why does my son love outer space? And he found out that I have the same birthday as Yuri Gagarin, who was the first person in outer space, and that was the answer to that question. So this is called Seeing a UFO and Singing Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon into the Night at the top of my lungs. How many poems does a guy have to write to get abducted by aliens? I know you see me, same as the fat moon peeping through the trees like a pervert. I just want to talk. My arms are sore from waving. My dad used to wonder why I was always so fascinated with space, then learned I share a birthday with Yuri Gagarin, and that explained everything. I would watch that shit show Ancient Aliens with my mom, and she would say, you know, in Guatemala, we remember where the Mayas came from, raising her eyebrows into orbit. How could I not grow up to search the skies for meaning? Ancient peoples thought objects soaring through the atmosphere were celestial serpents, their glowing tails slithering through space, and I buy it. Quetzalcoatl, is that you? I feel like the last kid sitting in front of the school waiting to be picked up. Don't say you've forgotten about me. Thank you. I think just 3 more, maybe. I'm not sure. You guys ever see The Florida Project? Really fantastic movie. I lived in that weird part of Orlando when I was a kid, and I swear to God, there's like a 2-second clip of this gift shop. They have like all these bootleg gift shops on the outskirts of Orlando, and there's a scene where you can see one that my mom used to work at, and I couldn't believe it. And I sent her a screenshot, and she was like, "Holy shit!" So it's just kind of one of those memory poems. It's called "On Seeing the Gift Shop My Mom Used to Work At in the Florida Project." Poorly painted orcas splashing above the bold red lettering that reads Disney Gifts Outlet in that strange fringe of Orlando around International Drive. The shot lingers for only a moment, but immediately transports me to the back of my parents' Honda hatchback with my brother, my sister asleep in the front seat, my dad driving us to pick up my mom from work near midnight. The back seats flattened, we lay on our stomachs facing the back window, reenacting that scene from the Jurassic Park video game at Chuck E. Cheese we would spend all our tokens on, where the T-Rex is hungrily chasing after you as the Jeep desperately drives away through the jungled path, and you have to stare it down, shooting your plastic gun to keep the beast at bay and save the injured Jeff Goldblum. We imagine we see the giant dinosaur in the flashing crevices of darkness between the highway streetlights, or pretend the high beams of the truck tailgating our slow little Honda are its carnivorous eyes glowing with hunger. We don't think about mom's 12-hour shift. We don't think about why she had to take this job selling glazed alligator skulls and ceramic orcas and trinkets worth less than the receipt paper their cost is printed on. We don't think about dad having to drive mom to work in the morning before driving us to school, before driving himself to work. We don't think about why we can't afford a second car like all our parents, like all our friends' parents. We don't think about anything except our own imagined struggle for survival, staring out at the darkness alive with our imagination, pointing our pretend weapons, defending ourselves against the night. Wow. Thank you. This is another kind of short childhood poem. Do you guys remember Evel Knievel? Apparently he had a kid who also grew up to be a daredevil. I had this memory of seeing Evel Knievel jump the Grand Canyon, and I was like, that can't be real. And I looked it up, and it was actually his son. So it's called Watching Robbie Knievel Jump the Grand Canyon, 1999. My mom's first birthday post-divorce, duplex in the sidewalkless outskirts of Orlando. 1 TV for the 4 of us, 1 bathroom for the 4 of us, 2 bedrooms for the 4 of us. The frogs who made a home of the window AC cheer the daredevil on. You can make a home anywhere, I guess. We watch Robbie Knievel rev his motorcycle to achieve what his father could not, a second-generation dream dressed all in white. We watch as he angels through the air, an inverse Icarus for a few seconds of flight, but a crash landing is still a landing, and a home is a home is a home. Thank you. You can look it up on YouTube. It's shockingly unimpressive. No offense to Robbie. So thank you so much. This will be the last poem. This is a short one. Do you guys remember, this sounds insane, do you guys remember America's Most Wanted? How was that allowed to be on TV? I don't understand. So it's called Remembering We Used to Sit Down Together as a Family to watch America's Most Wanted. After The Price is Right and Wheel of Fortune, after Supermarket Sweep and the dream of having enough, it was time to turn the channel back to reality, a criminal countdown over dessert, trying to memorize the faces of serial killers and terrorists, kidnappers and con men, in case we spot them at the Walmart or the bus stop or the library. Before Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, before Y2K, before YouTube and content creators, we would watch in morbid curiosity how even this country's most sinister can dream of being on TV. Thank you.
Everyone. I'm going to read from the collection that I'm currently working on, which is a book of nonfiction poetry, tentatively titled Savage Objects. The love which destroys. Unabstracted is her, lashed around pale blue, and an uproar over the obvious mystery of looking. All of these luminous objects. If the prick is what I cannot name, then an empire. The golden thread of fate blackening at the needle's eye, remorseless and uncoded. In light of the constant piercing, I am always disturbed, reverberant and full of chirping bats. Anyway, the suggestion of peace disgusts me. When the disembodied hand brushes my hair tenderly, I want to regress. To hang a wreath of savage objects. Memory shapes wood with the warm soldier's knife. Mice, alligators, elephants, ducks, swallows, fish, buffalo, camels, and kings. Swirling auras clustered in their protein coats, imbuing with myth and inexorable love. All that essential crystal, aeons. These things are significant without curation, but there is no way to know. The places where the light touched, every rabbit and gust of wind. Heart of darkness. Overflowing with desperate incredulity, the investigator is plagued by uncertain methodology. A liar pricks like a cat's translucent ear, a thorn where the arteries trembled, all symptoms perfectly aligned. Now, I imagine with severity an illuminated manuscript, my cataclysmic moments of failure, time stretched just past an invisible demarcation, and again, all of this to document love's hardening plaque, my own thick and on fire with disease. Isolation in motion. Does the lidless angel slide toward further calamity? A frightened bead on a string. Parallel lines will never intersect. No one apologized to this monstrous architecture, this quarantine. Always if, all of these questions, if unanswered and unforgiven. Senseless growls plummeting into universal geometry. Negative space at the visitation. Spewed from all embarrassing orifices, peonies, roses, dahlias, sunflowers, marigolds, morning glories, moonflowers, petunias, pansies, tulips, azaleas, butterfly weed, asters, black-eyed Susans, trumpet flowers, chrysanthemums, carnations, gardenias, violets into a trembling pink cup. This muddy vortex of churning flowers, sad annihilation. The red spider lily crouches beneath the window and the turquoise at her cold wrist. It's hostile, and I wish I hadn't touched it. Initiating the intracellular death program. Cells commit suicide this way. Lax pistils will drip pollen grains from a gaping hole so lushly and pungent I am turning around and around as the hole seeps endlessly, grotesquely. The ovules off themselves. The fetal curl of the red rose is critical and weighs heavy in my arms when I sleep. I carry its puking mass gently, searching for a shelf on which to place it, but there will never. The fox's psychosis. My mind still collapses beneath the weight of red reek, the monstrous fruit on its slim cane, gazing dumbly from behind a permeable membrane, somnambulant, teeming. But outrageously, the hummingbirds remain, feasting among the orange butterfly weed and slashing each other's throats with rage, untouchable. Do they feel an absence, all of those hot gems just tumbling out? The mind piercer. I'm afraid of the human body, a terror that dissembles, corporeal abjection and the single moldering drop swallowed by a vast alien ocean, unstoppable bile. When I am most selfish, I feel that this is the worst time of my life. Give me material abstraction, the body as subject of the slasher's knife, a light touch, pliable meats falling swiftly and red to the cabin floor, lungs and brain topped off, doom scrolling, sweetly across the unveiled pages, the softer splat of tranquility. Tectonic ghosts. The dog rests inside an ornate box, impossible to touch, impossible to discard. A bitch which weighs, but kindly. It's just to whom you belong. Is this some kind of comfort, lingering and possessed? More bloodless than I could imagine. There is a dark bruise on my frontal lobe, but it's redundant to say that everything hurts. I do in fact prefer this to the pit of spiral, a nest of coach whips coiling with all abandon, just fucking on and on, their dry scales scraping out like a theoretical instrument. This dry pitch is a phone line that I didn't answer. A black transmission held taut at the center of a crackling void. She will never read any of my books. Cardinal fire. An adolescent collapses beneath the weight of its talons. A natural trauma. Time skip. Snatched by a bird's bloodied paw into a yellow sky. Feasting, feasting, feasting. A family of dusky angels must continue on with their proper disgust. Wildfire contamination. To temper, that is, to adjust the pitch. Flowers assuage, then assault, then quieten. Invisible and indeterminable as the crunch of the animal's spiral was inescapable. Roiling, she, 20 years without record. Swallowtails clogging the airways with their unbearable heat and rough powders. I will never be silent in my paralysis. All of those extinguished designs. A dog noses sticks in the garden, ceaseless and transfixed at the mouth, but there is no fruit. Extinction event. Horror, the egg yolk splits in two. Duplicate connected by a wet and lengthening cord. Will it someday snap? I fear every day substratum, the tentacled crown, gelatinous, crashing sadly off into the silence of the universe. No return. No organism to remember its goldenness. Untethering intestine, the absolute end of the world. The Sears Tower. I was never obedient, folding back a pink-veined petal of universe when I feel the edges yield. I pressed my thumb inside of it, warm pulp of transmutation, a learned behavior. Her print on the sapphire holds me immobile. If you know it, then I see you. A hairline fracture, small teeth turned to the light, the possum dragging itself out of the way discreetly and with humility. No one will love it in this incomprehensible way ever again. Not twice. It's intolerable. Vertigo at night. This is what it means to stand alone at the precipice. Apocalypse after apocalypse. Salt in every delicate fold of cloth. Engulfed by the border that has encroached upon everything. Cold fire or sweet sorrow. I have embraced so many strangers, mercilessly. Imagine the real threat, a question, the unnameable. I will carry it with me, always. Thank you.
How on earth do I follow those three poets? Not possible. Before I begin, I have two debts of thanks that I would like to return. The first, I want to acknowledge the Almighty, in whom, as the Athenian poets of old once wrote, we live and move and have our being. But the second debt of thanks that I want to return is very specific. It's to you. To everyone who is here. For the last 9 years, I've had the privilege, and I mean that in the fullest sense of the word, it has been a privilege to serve as one of the coordinators for the New Orleans Poetry Festival. And it has been, thank you, it's been a great joy. It's been a labor of love and a lot of beer probably too in there along the way. But you know, as I stepped down this year from serving as a coordinator, it's given me opportunity to reflect on the fact that we on the committee, if you want to call it that, we do not make the festival. You do. We all do. Everyone here together makes this happen. And this has been going for 10 years. It is incredible to believe. Can we raise our glasses to the next 10 and to all the poets who are reading tonight. What joy. What unparalleled joy. I'm going to read just 3 poems this evening. This book just came out, The Singing River, and I'm going to read the first poem in the book, 1 poem from the middle, and I'm going to read the very last poem in the book, actually. So I wrote this poem is called Heat Wave, and it should be everything that you need to know to say that I wrote this when I was living in Scotland. Heat Wave. In the photo under the headline, the 2 girls, chin deep in the lake, are grinning from one ear to the other, their faces pressed together so tight, it looks as if one's mouth ends where the other begins, a long, unbroken chain of milky teeth. Scarcely 80 degrees in that country, and they call it a heat wave. Let me tell you what I know of heat. I have seen the horizon bend and warp as though turned in a flash to taffy. I have seen trees uproot themselves from the earth to crawl under each other for shade. Where I call home, you can hear houses sigh and settle as the glue that binds them melts. And in the stillness of early evening, the wind but a distant memory, the cobwebs cough into flame. Downtown at noon, the towers shed all their windows and doors and bend their spires to snag the passing clouds. This is what I know of heat. Oh, frail country, if this is where desire has led you, if this is what you want, then follow me no further. For all I have to offer are the shouts of 2 grown men chasing after lightning, trying to anchor the storm. As 10 miles over, in the next parched parish, the shadow of a barn eats a black dog whole. If you are from the Gulf Coast, you know. If this is your first time visiting the Gulf Coast, welcome. I'm going to read another Gulf Coast poem here. Much of this book is inspired by the landscapes in and around the Gulf Coast, from Louisiana all the way over to Florida. And one of the true treasures of this region, all I really need to do is say his first name, and about half of us in here are going to understand immediately who I am talking about. As far as the history of the arts in this region goes, is Walter Anderson. And it was one of the great gifts that I received from the Walter Anderson Museum to be able to use one of Walter's images on the cover of this book. You want to talk about sacrifices we made for art. He strapped himself to a tree before Hurricane Betsy and died 6 weeks later. He wanted to watch the hurricane from the inside, and it killed him, but not before he'd seen it. So this is called The Dream of Light, and it is inspired by his watercolor called Seahorses. And if anybody would like to pull out their phone and just type in Walter Anderson Seahorses, please do. There's one reproduction. I'm almost sure it's a bootleg. It's the first result on Google image search. It's on Pinterest, and you can just see where this came from. So this is called The Dream of Light. She is born in a sketch, a curl and a flourish, a swirl flown off the brush. The title lies. It is not 10 he is painting, but one that grows slowly as she swims across the page, swallowing ink like krill. First her tail with its ridges and spines, then her wings, their textures and bright bone. By the time she is grown, dripping with the darkness of the deep, the ghosts of her former lives littering her path, she has woken into a dream of color, a flood of golden light, so radiant it draws the shade near to her in worship, then dismisses it swiftly away, asking as she goes, who among us has never wanted to flare into this world like a nova, our skin glowing through the depths of night, inhaling the soaring dark, to breathe it out again as the wild and untamable surface of the sun. Thank you. Last poem I'm going to read for you is the title poem of the book. It's called The Singing River. And I wrote this shortly after America's involvement in the Iraq War. It's actually an older poem. And I wrote it partly to try to understand the incredibly complex inheritance of Southern men, in particular, boys who desperately wanted to be men. But in order to do so, they had to choose violence. And about 2 friends of mine who enlisted to go overseas after the Iraq War. And I'm still troubled by it, I confess to you. I'm troubled by their decision. I'm troubled by this poem, but that is the truth. The legend of the Singing River, the Pascagoula River in southeast Mississippi, is that there were 2 warring Native American tribes. One conquered the other. The Pascagoula was the defeated party. And rather than face massacre, they chose to join hands and walk together into the river, singing as they went, and die with honor that way. And so that's how the Pascagoula became known as the Singing River. This is the Singing River. These are the things I know to be true. When boys go off to war, they come back 2 feet taller or in a box. Virgin pine, 6 feet in length, even if their bodies were elided in an ecstasy of heat and light. This too, I know, is true, that pine forests echo with the memory of the not yet dead, that the stand in the upper Pascagoula quivers with the names that inhabit our newspapers, pages that ink our dead onto their own. What else I know is that Brett Patterson, named Pat Patty or Dickhead, not like Josh Cook, who was always just chode until he went off to war and then came home again. Both Brett and Josh were born sons of the river, crashing through the brush, wading to the shore where sand tickles the soles of the feet and the scritch of fiddler crabs forms a kind of lullaby. The voices of the river ghost over the dawn. Sleep on our bank, dredge up your dreams. We have been waiting years for you to come hear us. This choir assembled beneath the murky surface where roots suck the soil for color to spurt forth like the carotid shredded by shrapnel. Listen again to the song the dead sing on being lifted from the earth. And are there words, Pat? Is there any scant or furtive praise for the men who would say to you, leave this place, go to the desert where the wind strips the sense from your body like sweat? Here on the rope swing, sworn to the laws of gravity, the blood wakens. It woven into the breath of the wind and the splash of the fall, the young cells pleading, let us grow, let us flower, like the trees in the wood, like the sun on the skin. Let our days and our divisions not be curtailed by an order given, a position taken. The marrow breathes deep in its casing. Dark weavings of protein, laughter, and names for cunt. Patty, you who would taste the inside of a body long before any of us in a pine cabin your grandfather built on the river bend. You who jammed your fingers inside her, searching for a hollow to be sounded, even as she bit her tongue to blood. Now you taste only her memory, alone in the desert, thumb bracing the stock, index locked on the trigger, dreaming of the writhing she wrought upon it. Will you fire? Will you? Or will there be nothing to wake to in the morning, nothing to name or taste, your brains blotting the flag like stars? The voices will continue to echo long after the recollections are rinsed clean of your helmet, the gist of that night, waking at dawn on a pine floor. Can you hear them now? Can you make out the words? The river cannot leave the land without giving itself up to. Can no more forget the land than the land forget the dead it has reclaimed, the dreamers, the liars, and lovers. Patty, did you think that what you called her honeypot was just a token, admission to the rights of men, men whose desires crouch behind a mud brick wall, sun raining down upon the roof, their shouts a torrent of loss to come, their rifles extended, their rifles become their face? Did you think that what you left behind on the river, wrapped in a blanket of sweat, could ever escape naming? That was the same year. We rode far up the river basin, docked at Pine Island, our father's 22s on our backs, oiled and primed for practice, shooting at cans, bottles, rotten fruit, anything that would shatter when asked. Chode, too, at the wing, our lookout swearing at each sharp report like his life depended on it. Deep in the wood, where the glass shrapnel, the leaves, became a kind of melody. Each shard softly glinting with the question whose answer eludes even you. When did you know? When did you enlist? Decide today is the day the forest collapses into sand, sand in which to write the names of the dead, sand that has no river to wash them away, sand in which you take your finger and trace your own. Patty, will you too come back from the desert to the forest with the knowledge no tree harbors, that we do not come home to sing as the waters swallow us. We come home in a pine coffin draped in a flag of stolen years, that we are only here in this broken dark of sand, rope, blood, and cunt until we are lifted, are borne clean away. Brett, Pat, Patty, Dickhead, my brother, my song, agent of the dusk, until you return Your name will never be worn as it was on the river, where you left it out on the bank to dry. Your name, now, just Patterson, stitched on your uniform like a cloth prayer, murmured over and over. I am still alive. I am still alive. I am still...
Keep it going Keep it going for our first set of readers. Marian Moore, Ariel Francisco, Rachel Zavecz, and Ben Morris. Wow. Y'all really know how to make a packed house a packed home. We thank you so much. I'm here calling an intermission, but I've gotten a little bit of mystery news. I don't exactly understand what's going on, but Wood from the city of New Orleans is here to make a proclamation from the city. Take it away. Give Wood a warm welcome.
Greetings, family. Let me put down my beer. What's happening? What's up, Jose? How you feeling, brother? How y'all doing? Listen, yes. So, it's a pleasure to be here. Good to see you. Give it up for yourselves one time. Clap for yourselves. If you look good, feel good, smell good, keep clapping. We see who's not clapping. All right. So I have a proclamation from the City of New Orleans and Mayor LaToya Cantrell, and it reads, whereas the City of New Orleans proudly recognizes the 10th annual New Orleans Poetry Festival, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, a vibrant literary event taking place from Thursday, April 10th through Sunday, April 13th in New Orleans, Healing Center, Saturn Bar, and surrounding venues. And whereas since its inception in 2016, the New Orleans Poetry Festival has grown to become one of the largest poetry gatherings in the Gulf South, serving as a dynamic platform for poetic innovation, experimentation, performance, and translation. To founders Megan Burns and Bill Lavender, they have made invaluable contributions to the literary landscape of our city through their vision and dedication to building this extraordinary platform for poetic expression. Now, therefore, I, LaToya Cantrell, Mayor of the City of New Orleans, do hereby recognize the New Orleans Poetry Festival and have hitherto sent my hand and caused the Great Seal of the City of New Orleans affixed this 10th day of April, the year 2025. Congratulations, NOLA Poetry Festival, on 10 years. Here's to the next 10. Y'all drink up, listen up, enjoy yourselves.
All right, that's a tight New Orleans 5, and we're gonna get the show going again. We have 3 more incredible poets for you. I will let them do the work and get out of the way. Brad, take it away.
Thank you, Poetry Festival. It is so great to be here. And I'm gonna read 6 poems from my new book. How I Am Whole. Some days, I just want to be an idea. Form, duration, écriture. But my body keeps getting me lost in things. Mist, so white it brightens my classroom windows before thickening into rain. The slow darkening of roux in its iron pot as I stir until my shoulder aches, the hidden heat in carnation petals. And I love sex so much. And I love sex so much. I believe the body does just fine without ideas. Yesterday, an artist asked for the story of my body. As her studio's skylight filled with snow, I remembered a porch in late summer and me, 6 or 7, standing shirtless by the screen door, feeling the glow of the whole day inside me and thinking, I want to remember this. So, during lockdown, did a lot of writing. Had to find things to write about. I have a lot of bowls. Ode to bowls. Here's a nested set of 5. Tan, sturdy, rough-lipped. My mother bought at a flea market from a weeping widower. And there was once a chipped porcelain sink where baby eye was bathed, and a marble font where sinners' fingers dip, but not mine, not in years. I thought I knew the wash bowl and pitcher, gold-rimmed, my grandmother kept on a stand in my father's old bedroom. Heirloom, I thought, until after her funeral, I pulled from the pitcher's mouth a foxed paper tag. 2-piece, $49.50, in cursive pencil. At the intersection of Jefferson and Claiborne, I roll down my window to place $5 in a bowl a man holds toward me. What is a bowl? Half a bubble glowing, blown from molten glass, clay thrown on a potter's wheel, then fired and glazed. Always fire in every bowl's making, always a cooling to harden this soft shape. In the kitchen, I drape a towel over the bowl on the counter where bread swells with a billion breaths. I stack cereal bowls in a cabinet like skulls in an ossuary and place on the pantry's highest shelf broken halves of bowls I've loved and might glue whole again. There's the cat's water bowl that says dog. There's the resin-lined bowl that fills my head with smoke I release like a prayer. And here is the bowl I live in. Reclaimed basin of a marsh where Chitimacha hunters caught snipe for Creole housewives until the railroad came, tracing the basin's rim, then crossing it parcel by parcel, marked off for houses, schools, libraries, streets where potholes are bowls, sand and gravel never fill, but water will. Gonna have one sad poem, and then since I'm, starting off the second half, then we'll have some spicy poems.
Oh yeah, it's ladder right in there.
How one goes on. In the mornings, there is coffee, also 4 cats and a giant bromeliad that has not bloomed in years. In the mornings, there is the kindness of the one who brought the coffee and set it on the nightstand. Let the day wait while it cools. Over breakfast, planes crash, flags fall, mothers die. After breakfast, it is important to be wrapped in a blanket on the couch and coo Goofy Girl to the Siamese. At noon, there is nothing to note, just the memory of your mother reading late at night with a cat in her lap. One has no choice in these matters. There lies the afternoon. It will be yours until it isn't. Will you pick up the shirts from the laundry, pay the bills, dig up the daylilies from the now too shady bed and move them to a sunnier one? 5 years since you dug them from her garden. There went the afternoon. Dirt clinging to the bathtub, the checkbook unopened on the desk, the kind one's green shirt you love still unclaimed. Here comes the evening with its poem you should have been writing all day. Evening with all its unforgiven faces, all of them yours. Night, dirt under your fingernails, whiskey dulling your mouth, the box of her pulverized bones on a closet shelf. Where is the kind one? When will he be home? Morning, as if it will never come. Thank you. You want to hear about my desires, right? All right. My desires. Okay, sure. I loved you. Parrot lily, princess lily, fancy ass invasive, stretching your spindly stems above the sword ferns each spring. Your blooms, bristling all summer until spent, you went dormant, tubers swelling all winter, dreaming the garden yours. Now I'm almost rid of you, prying out bits between border bricks and tree roots as I put in mallows, wood sage, phlox, penstemon, natives of a garden I pray you exiled from. Go on, get lost forever, you and your frilly friends. I know what I want, not you. Thank you. Oh, Lord, let me find my other poem here. Okay. Are you familiar with the tallow tree? The very invasive tallow tree. You must destroy the tallow tree. The tallow tree came from Asia, and I know that as of like 5 years ago, it had displaced like 60% of the trees in Houston. Tallow tree. Even the moon struggles to rise from this invader's shaggy limbs. I tried salt, have considered kerosene poured one midnight over the fence and onto the roots of my neighbor's tree. Not really theirs, this squatter, its seed shitborn by wren or sparrow, its suckers and pods, staking claim to my garden plot, my lawful lot, its shade stunting my satsuma, its bulk blocking the view I had years back from my darkened kitchen. A second-story bedroom window where for a few nights I watched a young man standing as he fucked an ass meeting his thrusts, so eager, he so relentlessly alive, stark as a flame-lit icon of an Eden not mine to lose. Thank you. And I am going to close with a poem about my youth. It's called Cinderella. "19, I liked how tank tops, tight jeans, cutoffs showed off my 100 push-ups, my lakeside runs. Drag's magic wasn't mine, but it dazzled when Dallas showed up to work a la Brooke Shields, his chunkier, broad-shouldered body beguiling as a girl I could get into. It was 1983. My world seemed small, tidy, divided into men's and women's, hits and misses. Dallas needed a wedding dress for a show he meant to win. So after the tip split and shift drinks and ones for the road, we waiters and busboys grabbed our go-cups and catwalked to the fancy resale shop next door. The owner, Dee's pal, had given him the key and her blessing for one night to try on whatever we wanted. "Girl, you're gonna rip those seams," squealed Ray, tugging at the zipper that refused to budge another inch up Dee's back. "God fucking damn, that was the one," Dee squalled, shuffling off the brocade-coiled gown he'd scoped all week. Ray and the gang consoled him as they processed into realms of lesser dresses. I lingered, seduced by the gown that spurned Dee's girth, then stripped, stepped into the sheath, reached behind, zipped. You bitch, and you not even a queen. No, never outside those walls, but as my queens cooed, tugged, and turned me for a crowded mirror, I saw myself at 14, done up as Frankenfurter, a Rocky Horror party starlet, pert in thigh-highs, garters, and corset. And see, at 9, I'm the star of my solo closet dramas, raiding mom's walk-in when she goes out, some other body tingling under flowy rayon prints, prince, princess. So many suitors, cloaked in their pursuits. Thank you.
I'm setting a timer so that I don't get too ambitious tonight. All right, so I'm gonna read you guys some poems from my new collection of poetry, Libre, available with Blue Cypress Books over here, if anyone's interested in a copy. The first poem that I'm going to read is called No Foul Play Suspected. And earlier this week, I'm reading it because earlier this week I received news that I'm teaching at Xavier University. I received news that one of the freshman students took their lives this week. And so this is something I've been thinking about and sort of trying to process myself this week. So I want to read this poem for her. No foul play suspected. Everyone warns us off the rocks, but what will keep us from the river? Eugenia Lee. You left your phone and purse open on the passenger seat in a new car on a bridge overlooking the Mississippi River. You did not take the keys out of the ignition. You left the car, an 18th birthday present from your parents still running. You rushed to your blind date with death as though it were the dental appointment scheduled in your Google Calendar for the next morning. There was no need for seduction. You were a sure thing. So you stood on the cement lip of the bridge and cast yourself over the guardrail without a sound, like a fishing line gliding into the muddied water. Your headlights were still on as the tow truck driver arrived. No one, not even the tow truck driver, stopped to wonder why. Lights on, car running, phone and purse inside, engine still breathing, though you were no longer. When he rigged your car to his truck without so much of a backward glance, he confirmed your haunting. No one cares. I imagine your ochre eyes, beautiful and sick with tired, anchored to the water below. Tell me this. If no one is around to hear the sound of a brown girl plunging like a dagger into a river, did she ever even fall at all? No foul play suspected is all that the papers will say. Out of respect for the family, the police chief refuses to speak on the topic any further. They will not call your death a suicide out of respect. The drowned girl, silenced twice. I asked myself, where do you run when nowhere, not even home, will suffice? I was like you once, saw the river as comfort, a dark crib to nurse my suffering. The water, Stygian and full of possibilities, delicious silence. What if I had driven off the bridge, as desire called me to, under the blurred veil of my tears. A wedding of brown water and browner skin. Would I have beckoned to you from the river bottom on a jagged marital bed of rock? The current pushing our bodies together as the curve of the moon smiled down at the light of its own reflection on the water. This next poem is called Under the Shadow of a Golden Clock. In Musée d'Orsay, I wander among the work of birth, see her paintings of maids bent over to wash linens, and a self-portrait of the artist clad in brown and looking incredibly stern. But downstairs, in a corner, underneath the shadow of a golden clock, an exhibit devoted to black models of the past. Jean Duval, the mistress of a poet, high yellow and in recline. And just past her, a painting of Ira Aldridge, the first actual black person to play Othello on stage. Though the portrait shows him shackled and chained, he still glances up towards the sun. And I think of the moment he recited his lines to the crowd and Alexander Dumas stood up and exclaimed, "I am a Negro too." And I whisper the words to myself. I stand hidden in a crowd of people rushing past to see Olympia, the painting in which Manet captured what appears to be the first ever recorded side eye cast towards a white woman. And no one can see me but Josephine Baker, who looks down at me from an old recording, smiling, lips slick, dark breasts bared, knees shimmying with so much laughter in her eyes. I look up at her and whisper, "Sister." I look up at her and whisper, "Friend." And my boyfriend finds me lost and says, "I am so full. Are you ready to go?" And I look at him, ravenous, because I will never be filled, and I refuse to clear my plate.
Thanks, y'all. I had a whole plan when I came up here, and I'm just like, what is my plan now?
This next poem is called When the Half-Black Man I'm in Bed With Calls My Hair Nappy.
Wait for it.
I can hear it so clearly again. The sizzle of my hair straightened sharp to blade, and that chemical smell, relaxer, thick, white, and deadly, stirred in a plastic cup. My nose burns before it is even applied to my roots. The stylist adjusts her latex gloves to protect her hands from what she's about to smear across my scalp. She sighs, parting my budding curls into quadrants. Resigned, she whispers into my ear as though this is something to be hidden. Your hair is so thick. I see it all. In that second, he turns his light-skinned body away from me in bed, laughing. He says, "You and this nappy hair. Hope I don't wake up with any of your little curls in my mouth." His thick cruelty, cold as butter, brings me back down south to the hot comb in my stylist's hands, the tub of blue magic hair grease on the bathroom counter, always emptied, to the Saturdays wasted in salons, or the chemical burns, each a pulsing scab, round and hard as blood-fed ticks dotted across my scalp, hidden beneath glossy, straightened hair. I open my mouth to speak and want to say to him, tell me again how much your white mother loves you. But instead I say, my curls are beautiful. I love my hair so quiet that I can't even convince myself of it. But he's already fast asleep. Thank you. This next poem is called Grocery List for When My Ex Comes to Visit. Seltzers of all flavors. That green salsa he likes. Avocados. Wine on tap. Spaghetti sauce. Bubble bath. Lavender Epsom salt. Pillar candles. Whiskey for balcony hot toddies. Condoms. Black teddy. Sheer lace stay-ups. Various meats. He'll want steak. Coffee. Bread. Another mug to finally place next to mine on the shelf. Black beans, brown eggs, tissues, matches to start a fire neither of us will know what to do with. A gift for him. Lucille Clifton divination cards. Later in my kitchen, he will pull one card from the deck. It reads, today, we are possible. Exactly 3 beers. The strength to watch him walk through the door. The acceptance if he chooses to walk out of it again. And scissors to cut down my braids when he flies out on Monday morning. Thank you.
Hey everybody. I'm so happy and honored to be in the company of these amazing poets. Let's have another round of applause for all of them. And to be in all of your company, thank you for being out here tonight. We are people who care about the word, and the freedom of speech is under threat right now in a really big way. So I want to encourage everybody to be really loud. And to that end, tomorrow I want to invite everybody at 5:30. We're having a procession for free speech. And we'll be joining a memorial procession for Jerry Ward and Pierre Joris. And we're meeting at Siberia. We'll be giving out throws of poems by silenced poets and having some readings. Please come out. And in whatever way you can, just be loud. Do not obey in advance. That thought is inspiring some of the poems I chose from my book that came out almost 6 months ago, Museum of the Soon to Depart. This first poem is about a poet in Cairo who was killed on the anniversary of the Egyptian Revolution. She was a beautiful poet and activist that I knew, and I'm grappling with looking at the photograph that was on the cover of the New York Times, January 24th, 2015, tableau. A man holds a woman around her waist, his eyebrows raised as in a please, a no. This is not the woman's husband, though that makes the image easier. Easier than him home with their son reading. This man keeps her from falling, her hand curling as if she's listening to a pure note of music, feeling for the high screech of strings or saying, wait, no, I have a child, wait, no, I am holding only a wreath of flowers for the dead of Tahrir. The curling hand still grasps the small flag that says whatever it says. Behind them, one in uniform stands with his clear face, his clear face shield lifted to better see. In another shot, a man from the march stares mid-drag on his cigarette as if watching traffic pass from a stoop. Crop out what happens later. The man lifting her over his shoulder, carrying her to the Borsa coffee shop. Crop her death. The ambulance refusing to help. Crop the roundup of witnesses. Zoom in to the moment Islam Osama turned his camera just after the shots. It is so like love, their embrace. Hollywood could make a movie of it. Is it wrong to say that it is beautiful? Speaking of speech, there are at least a couple of prominent students that we know of that have been abducted and detained for speaking out about the situation, the dire situation in Palestine. And we must continue to speak out regardless of that. This poem is looking at a painting that in some ways thinks about the historical plight of the Palestinians, and it is from the Orientalism exhibit at NOMA, Pest House Sketches. So this is a painting, at NOMA it's a sketch by Antoine Jean Gros that ends up being a really famous painting in the Louvre that I've not seen, but it's apparently really big. And it was a propaganda piece for Napoleon, because you may not know, but there are men in power that really want to look really good. And they surround themselves with people that will make them, in their minds at least, look really good. So this is, it ends up becoming Bonaparte visiting the victims of the plague at Jaffa. And I felt the sketches actually revealed a lot more of the honesty than the final version. So there's two sketches, two poem sketches. This is first sketch of the first sketch. This Napoleon turns his face away from the slumped body he half holds. The central figures, Syrians, or so it seems from their lack of uniform. The one in red fixes startled eyes on the leader as if to give a message. In the Louvre's final, sprawling version, those figures are gone. Instead, a slumped body tries to stand as Napoleon reaches out to touch its wounds. That version has an outside, clanging in daylight, beyond the striped arches of the mosque-turned-military hospital. We'd call what's outside Tel Aviv now. What would we call the Syrians? Palestinians? Where do their descendants live? In Damascus, maybe, or in a refugee camp in Yarmouk. Its misery thick and similar to the plague house, a kindred, jaundiced light. But they are in a future outside the frame, as were the bayoneted prisoners and the 2 days of rape and slaughter Napoleon gave as a gift to his men. All eyes now on the emperor in his shaft of light. You either do or do not believe he has a right to be there. And because I'm fun, I'm going to read a villanelle about amputation. This is, do you remember Jamal Khashoggi? He was a journalist at the Washington Post who was dismembered in the Saudi embassy in Istanbul. This is in part about him. Bonsoir villanelle. My friend, an AIDS survivor, will be cut to the bone again today. He'll be short another digit. Surely by now you're a pro at amputation. Khashoggi's fingers were sawed off one by one. As the forensic doctor worked, he listened to music. One needs focus while cutting to the bone. Who will take the blame? Not son of a king, not king. Oil and cash make all legit as democracy's drugs kick in for amputation. A hell of a lot better than the whole foot, says my friend. It's not like I can quit because they cut me to the bone. In the museum, the Victorian cutting saw shone with its curved jade handle. He asked me to snap a pic stunned by beauty paired with amputation. We wait for updates on Twitter, by phone, half of us half here, half not giving a shit, because either way, they'll cut us to the bone. Each day is its own amputation. This is a poem inspired by a wine shop just down the street, and my friend who visited after the Egyptian Revolution, and I lived there. I lived in Cairo during the revolution, but he was there before, and went through a whole lot more, especially as an Egyptian. So this is us kind of talking about it afterwards. On your first visit since the revolution, we drink for 4 hours on St. Claude Avenue. You hate that I teach the romantics, even the disillusioned ones so riddled with hope. You use your mind to form a shield, you say. That's how you weren't shot, like the 7 you stood next to in the square. How you fend off the fangs of, was it worth it? Back in Cairo, your friend asked you to take him to his shock treatments. The only thing he says can shake him free of a weight that crushed him even before Shaimat was shot. The bottle gets emptier. We taste the whole grape in our mouths. For a moment, you are not hopeless, more like a man flying from something that he dreads. And we talk of how you'll change your life. You'll cook and draw again, drink less, smoke less, try not to wish things worse so that people will rise up again. 2 bottles in and words swirl. Shock, shield, crush, dread, thawra. I search your mouth, our words, for something to clutch. Riddled. There's a word, I say. Yes, you say. There's a word. I'll read 2 more. And Shaimat in that poem is actually the women from the first poem tableau. This is a newer poem. Surviving a hurricane in a time of genocide. Reflected in the flooded fields, the flooded streets at dawn, broken limbs, severed limbs lit in my phone screen. Power still on, ours anyway. Wind broke some of the amaranth, the sorghum, the Jamaican hibiscus, which make brief purple-black flower mouths that open dark throats as if to sing. Is anything growing in Gaza? Few left to report, it's by design. Hunted, says the young man in his blue press vest. Journalists and doctors, all of northern Gaza at risk of dying, says the UN. Sunset bombs the kitchen, lights a bowl of figs from our tree that thinks it's June in late October. How does citrus know to fruit when it doesn't get cold? Not far from here, a live wire fell and burned clear through the street, a moldering trench. There, the news anchor points, everyone got out before the house went up. How lucky are we to be again missed by misfortune? So small, the screen in my phone that frames the ones who weren't, who aren't. Kids gray and limp in the arms of people running. Where? We can't say one day we did not see. We see. We see. The small bones poking up from ground, the small bones poking out over stretched skin. This morning, dragonflies mate mid-air, a smooth confusion of wings. Morning light washes the pine tree's hair in the front yard, the same tree our neighbor warns will fall one day. To survive is so wonderful and wretched. I teach our dog to eat the figs from the ground. At least we try to waste nothing. I'm going to end with this poem, and I'm going to ask your help. Perhaps you feel some animosity toward those in power. I don't know. Try to conjure it. I would invite you to cultivate your inner middle finger. And I would invite you, in fact, to raise your middle finger as this poem goes on, and especially at the end, and collectively join forces of animosity toward whatever entity you feel needs it. On Syrian political cartoonist Ali Farzad's self-portrait drawn after his hands were broken. His lips dragged down, his gaze straight, revealing the sneer that might otherwise be taken as the sadness of Damascus, where he was left in a heap on the street. Praise the sneer, the wilting gaze. He ringed his left eye with ink to show the bruising, creased his face and pillow with lines jagged as stones, filled in the dip of his own neck, the tube and the crook of his arm. Praise the exactitude. His hands mummy-wrapped, broken fingers halved by tape and gauze. Somehow he unbent the middle finger of the right hand, made it jut. Praise the unbending above the others, away from his body. In 2 dimensions, it points to the heart. Praise the heart. Maybe the finger really didn't unbend. Maybe it's one of the fingers which does not work now. This is a self-portrait, how he sees himself, how he wants to be seen. In any case, he perched a pen, praised the pen, managed to shade his hair black and gray, his burned beard, his posture wincing against sheets. Praised the sheets on which he rests, the sheets on which he draws himself. Praised the ink, the printing presses churning in hidden rooms, the smudges on hands after touching news. Praised food stalls in occupied squares. Praised concrete pilings that smash down walls. Praised bandanas soaked in vinegar. Praised Fridays of chanting and chanting again, knowing nothing will change anytime soon. Praised the cartoons of Ali Farzad's. Praise Ali Farzad's middle finger. Thank you.
Let's keep it going for Andy. And our 7 readers, local readers. We've got tons more in this town. This is tip of the iceberg, what you saw. Move here. We mean it. Tomorrow, at 12 o'clock, if you want to read, go to Siberia at 12, from 12 to 5. You can just show up and, I'm sorry? What? Well, I'm sorry. One, I knew I'd fuck this up. 1 to 5, okay? And then at 5:30, we're gonna have a second line, sort of coinciding with this free speech thing that Andy was talking about at the same time, kind of. I don't know how that's gonna work. But like, in front of Siberia, we're gonna have a second line. And for those of you who don't know what a second line is, it's a sort of parade where we honor people who are very important to us in this community. We're gonna be honoring Dr. Jerry Ward and Pierre Joris, who recently passed. But in New Orleans style, what we do is the way we mourn, but then we also celebrate openly these people's lives. So come and join. There's going to be music and a lot of merriment. And then at 7, we have our international night at the Healing Center, right? With the poets from France. You gotta check this out. You gotta come. And then, of course, Saturday and Sunday and blah, blah. Okay, so have a great time. Tip your bartenders. And if you have any questions, just find us and we'll answer them. It's okay. Thanks.